Welcome back. I'm playing Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector, and we're continuing on with our tournament. We won the first round, lost the second, and now we're moving on to the third round. We are playing a Strategic Command 2000 point. We're playing on the settlement. For this matchup, I am going to be playing as the Blood Angels, and we're going to be going against the Tau. This is probably not going to go well for us because the Tau are a super hard counter to the Blood Angels here, but I'll see what I can do. It's an 8-turn limit with an 80-point target. So I'm going to try to use the jump boys that this build out works really well on the bridges. I don't know if it's going to work real well on the settlement or not. But what I have is a lieutenant, the sanguinary priest, the 2 sanguinary guards. I think I have 2, 3, 4, 5 assault squads, and then I have 2 death company with their hand flamers and predator balls, and then 2 land speeder tornadoes. So the thought is hopefully I can run up and jump these guys in. I think I'm going to end up neglecting the left side here and just kind of focus on the right and then in the center. And my hope is that that's going to allow me to... shit. I should have used the anti-grav first because that would have given me a bunch of extra movement because these guys would be next to each other. So rough start here, already making mistakes. So we'll do that. But yeah, this is going to significantly lower their movement now. So now these guys are going to be a little bit out of position. That sucks. But we'll kind of keep the land speeders towards the right. We'll keep these guys over this way, with the hope being that I can use the buildings as enough cover to protect me, and then also hide behind these buildings to stop bad things from happening. Now, one of the downsides of this that I didn't really think of when I was originally playing this matchup is that the Death Company starts out with 65 requisition. That's actually one of the reasons that they're more expensive than the typical assault squads here. But the problem is if you're not totally moving them and using up all their spots, you're going to be losing some of that requisition every turn. So you really got to take that into consideration, which I did not. So that was definitely a mistake here, but I'm like, well, let's hide behind these buildings here. We'll wait a couple of turns, wait for our jump packs to come up, and hopefully we can get guys into position. Because I'm not sure, is he going to have like a heavy probe build? Most of these Tau players go with a Pathfinder, Breacher, and Commander build with obviously an Ethereal. So I wasn't quite sure what he was going to have. And now the points are allocated on his turn. So I'm like, well, let's see, can I get some views? So yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty standard. So he's got some stealth suits, breachers, pathfinders. The commander is his HQ guy. And then he's got the stealth suit there. And I'm assuming he's going to have more forces to the left here. So what my thought is well, his commander's right there. If I bring both these assault squads down here, hopefully I can entice him to jump down with his commander, because then with his 2 flamer attacks he'll be able to kill these 2 assault squads. But if I can kill that commander in exchange for having him kill my 2 assault squads, then that's a good trade. Unfortunately, the one that's there is also the one that has the hand flamer. But we'll bring these guys down here. Now he does have the tactical drones. Most players will do that because it has the increased movement. So I was just trying to figure out, like, well, where do I just use them to body block on this spot? But then we know he's going to have all these other guys here. So I'm not quite sure what the best strategy was. Now, I have a little bit of a misclick here on my land speeder. I was just kind of counting squares in my head and I accidentally clicked there. What I wanted to do is actually have both of them down here, because if I would have had them down here, then I could use them as overwatch to help protect this point. Because what I was hoping is that if I left it open, then it would send his guys down to try to capture it back, and it may also cause him to take a bunch of overwatch fire too, which would definitely be enough to kill those probes. And I thought, well, if I move my predator up here, it's going to then be in position if his commander jumps down. And I thought it was going to be safe behind this corner here, because I didn't think he was going to be able to get all of his pathfinders and everybody over here. But as you're probably reading between the lines, that is not in fact what happens, and this was a big overzealous play on my part. And now what I'm trying to do here is it's like, okay, I got to get these guys together so I can start buffing them with the Lieutenant and Sanguinary Priest bonuses. So I was just trying to figure out, like, well, how do I want to do this? I don't want him to come down, but I assume he's going to jump down with the stealth suits, even if he doesn't, if the probes end up getting killed. So I was like trying to figure out what the best way to do this is, because those dang stealth suits, I really don't think they should have the reduced damage drones. They're just too buff yet. They just feel like they're too strong, and the breachers still feel like they're overtuned in my opinion as well. But now I'm like, well, I want to get this 50% physical damage here, because I've got to try to do something to nullify the bonuses that the evasion and HP bonuses that the Ethereal's going to give them. So I was just trying to figure out what the best way of doing this was. And then I end up moving these guys all around, but the big thing is you can't move them and then use your jump pack. So that's why I was like just trying to get them into a positions where it's like, okay, I can get the increased momentum if they get some kills. And here comes his units. Now the thing I wasn't really thinking about is, like, of course he can get through some of this partial cover because he's going to have the marker lights. So it's like, damn, alright, that was a bunch of damage. And then because of the marker lights, he gets 100% accuracy on that missile. But I did not know he had that broadside, so there's no way I really could have predicted that. But these stealth suits are jumping in. Now, unfortunately, they land a significant amount of their attacks because they actually take an accuracy penalty when you use your jump pack. It's minus 15%. But again, because he's using the marker lights, he's able to nullify some of those negative traits here. But I was able to aggro down his commander here. I was expecting that Predator to do more damage than this, and it does take 2 Flamer attacks to get the kill. Now, in retrospect, if I were him, since he's going to be able to focus on this Predator, I would have killed the Predator first to see if he would have even needed to get that second attack with the Commander, because with the explosion here, that would have been probably enough to kill those squads. And then he prudently brings the Commander there to hide the rear from my guys, knowing that I'm going to be able to use my Jump Marines now to get in there and do damage. But now he gets the free missile attack from the broadside there. And he's starting to move down his Pathfinders here, which will pretty easily be able to get that kill. And then these probes come down as you would expect. But what should have happened is, had I brought that Predator back by the other one, I would have been able to probably kill this guy here. And if nothing else, it may have encouraged him to use that stealth unit to come here to try to capture that point instead of focusing down that Predator. Now he would have been able to get the kill with the rest of those guys over there anyways, but it would have just made the positioning a little bit easier for me as well. But those were definitely some mistakes that just kind of set things off, because now I've lost a ton of my forces, and I got to try to claw back what I can, but it's going to be even more difficult with him getting the points on his turn here. But it's like, alright, let's get those damage buffs going, and we'll get the increased momentum gains. And then I was trying to decide, do I want to buff up these guys' accuracy, but I felt like, oh, it should be good enough that I really shouldn't have to worry about that with a single one. So I was just trying to decide, like, well, how do I want to do this? And it's like, I've got to come down here and kill these guys. I'm like, well, I've almost got enough for a strafing run. So it's like, let's bring him here. That easily gets the kill there. Because I'm still debating about how I want to jump these guys. Now, in my mind, I was thinking I can probably almost get the kill here. I didn't want to do a charge attack because I couldn't risk getting suppressed, because that would have been catastrophic at this point in time. So we do this, and I was thinking this was going to be almost enough to kill these guys, but with the damage reduction, it's not. So it just barely did 200 damage. So I'm like, shit. Well, maybe what I can end up doing then is giving the chalice here, which will get him 70, and then I was hoping that by coming here and then getting this here, I was hoping that I was going to not only surge but get an extra action point back. But unfortunately, with the single model kill, it was not enough to trigger their ability there. So that was definitely a big bummer, because I was hoping to get 2 attacks on these stealth units here, which would have been enough to kill them, and then that would have been a pretty good trade. But instead, because I didn't get it back, I have to just do a regular attack here, and I can't even take out a single model. So I'm like, shit, that is not going well, because I need to make up for my lost action points here. Now, the thing I'm worried about here is with those breachers, they're going to be able to come over and shoot me, which will be almost enough to one-shot my tornado. But unfortunately, I did not know he had Ghost Keel here, and so now I'm like, shit, now I'm really in a bad way. So I was like, well, how do I want to do this? Because like, I'd like to kill him, but I really would like to take those breachers down. If I can get my tornado up a little bit, then the heavy flamer will be enough to one-shot those breachers down. And that's the whole reason I brought these, is if I can get 2 breachers killed with each tornado, then that's a huge boon. Now, what I was thinking was going to happen here is, by jumping over here, I thought I was going to activate the breachers, but because they keep going into different squares that they're not next to, it's not working. So in retrospect, what I should have done is just jumped, attack these guys, risk the suppression, and then I could have got the tornado in there. But I kept assuming that when I was jumping in here, I was going to activate the breachers Overwatch, and then that was going to allow me to get the tornado in here, but it just never happens. And so I just keep charge attacking this Ghost Kneel, and then because he's back 1 square, he now doesn't have enough movement to jump attack the breacher here. And they keep going to these other squares, so it's like, shit, not only am I not getting the kill here, but I keep putting myself in positions that I can't get there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to use my lieutenant here to jump over and get this kill? Because I'm like, I feel like the breachers, if they attack the lieutenant, are probably going to kill him. So I was hoping he was going to be able to just wipe out that squad, but that didn't happen either. So I'm like, shit, this is not going well for me. And it's like, I'm worried that this tornado is going to die. It's like, do I pull him back? Do I not pull him back? At your disposal. It's like, we see he's got these forces here, and the breachers are going to be coming for me. So it's like I could come down and throw a crack grenade, but that's not really worth it. And unfortunately, these breachers are going to absolutely annihilate my Sanguinary Guard because they're just so powerful. They just destroy everything. For 90 points, they're definitely worth the money. But it's like, I don't have a way to hide them anywhere. I've got the breachers here. I used up both my action points, so I can't do like a strafing run. It's like, what am I going to do? It's like, I'd really like to try to take out some of these stealth suits, because what I don't want is for him to be jumping all over the map, taking my points back, because with the points getting allocated on his turn, that's going to be a big issue. So it's like, well, we'll come here, and I was hoping that maybe I was going to be able to kill several models, and we kill 2, but then the other one's still alive, so they overshot their attack, which does happen occasionally, because you can't select which ones are going to be. So they overkilled the model that was almost dead by jumping on that one, instead of splitting the forces up a little more strategically, I guess I would say, and to focusing on the one that had the most health. But it's just kind of random how they end up positioning themselves. So it's like, I'm just trying to pull back my Sanguinary Guards a little bit here to try to save them. But it's pretty well known that they're just going to get annihilated, since the breachers can just kill anything. So then I'm trying to decide, well, I didn't activate the breachers Overwatch when I jumped into there. So I was trying to figure out, like, does that mean that it's not truly on an overwatch of 2 squares and it's in fact on 1 square? In which case my land speeder, if I can get to 2 squares out, I should be able to guarantee the kill, and then I wouldn't have to worry about this. But unfortunately, it was just that it didn't activate it, and therefore I just totally sacrificed my land speeder to the gods, unfortunately. And so now I'm trying to figure out, like, how far can I get here? So now I'm going to be doing a one-on-one battle against the stealth suits with a predator. And it's like, with the evasion, their armor, and this HP, and the damage reduction, it's like they're so freaking hard to kill that my predator is struggling to do enough damage. And so we're going to be doing this dance between the predator and the stealth suit here. And now he's prudently using his cadre there to increase the amount of shots that all of his units do by 20%. So it's like the breachers are getting buffed even further here. And he's running down with the stealth suits here. They land 2 out of the 3 attacks. These guys are running right off the point blank range. And the problem with the breachers is because they get so many attacks with such high armor piercing, it makes it so they're good at clearing chaff, they're good at damaging vehicles, they're good at damaging heavily armored elite units. So it's like they can just kill pretty much anything. So that's what makes them a little bit too overpowered, in my opinion. I think they could get, the way you could nerf it is either make them cost more. They already nerfed them quite a bit by taking away their marker lights and also taking away their free grenades, because they could do all those things in one turn, that was just way too crazy. So I do like that they nerfed them that way, but I think what would make more sense is that they get less shots per model, or you just have to significantly increase their cost, because they're just so powerful for what they can do. I mean, they're anti-everything effectively. And so he had a 100% shot to hit there, so he sniped down one of my Sanguinary Guard. Makes perfect sense. And then he's still got these little probes running around here. And he's got another Breacher, and I assume some Pathfinders over there. And they're setting up some Overwatch. But 35 to 20, so definitely getting my butt kicked here. Because I think the big thing is with the Tau, is because they have the ethereal buffs and everything else, they just get so much evasion and bonus health and everything else that it just makes them really hard to kill. So it's like, you've seen on multiple multiplayer matches, like when I'm playing against, say, Forces of Chaos, though my Breachers will get surrounded by his Bloodthirsters and things like that, and like 3 of them will attack him and they won't be able to kill the models. So it still seems like they're just too overtuned. Either, I think, and if you didn't want to get rid of the amount of shots that they are doing, I suppose the other way that you could buff is either reduce their HP, and therefore they're easier to kill. Which could be alternatively the other ways. You just turn them into a true glass cannon. I think that could be a good way of doing it too. So it's like, yeah, they're going to kill whatever's in there, but you'll also be able to kill them back, potentially. And then you really have to worry about flamer play and things like that, so it would help other factions like the Adeptus Sororitas and other things be more effective against them. Same with the Forces of Chaos. So it's like, I'm going to come over here. I feel like for 30 damage, 95% chance to hit, we should get the kill here. Since he's dead, I can move those guys out of the way so they don't get caught in the explosion. And now my hope is that I can keep charging forward and take back this place, because those Breachers are going to have a little bit trouble getting to where they need to be. And I've got the Sanguinary Guard, the Sanguinary Priest here, and I've got 2. So then I was trying to decide, do I summon in my Jump Marines or do I do the strafing runs? And I thought, well, he's got 3 guys here, so I should be able to just strafe these guys, right? And so I do that, and it's like, I'm doing 5 to 16 damage per strafing run. So it's like I'm barely even getting through the bonus HP here. So if the ethereal buffs are on infantry units, you should not be wasting your attacks there. What I should have done is just summoned assault marines, because then I would have had at least 2 assault marine attacks on somebody, and that would have been able to more significantly get a kill here. So, I mean, because I would have, hopefully, if I would have lucked out, I could have had a charge attack, and I could have also just charged them in the back line there, and I could have possibly taken out the cadre. Now, I didn't know where his ethereal was at this point in time, but it's like, okay, what am I going to do here? I've got these guys here. I know he's trying to get to that point, so it's like we're going to just turn ourselves into a slugfest here. It's like, alright, well, at least I'm doing a little more reasonable damage here, but still, we're turning into this slugfest with a vehicle versus these stealth suits, and I can't freaking kill them. So it's like, I'll pull these guys back to try to protect my units. I don't want him to be able to run up with these other guys and kill me. So it's like, well, how do I do this? It's like, I gotta get rid of these breachers. So it's like, we've got 5 guys here. So it's like, and we've got 4 here, but I figure, oh, if I can get one attack per model, then I should be able to kill 3 of them. And I do, so it's like, okay, now he's down to a single breacher, so I thought, oh, okay, well, now I can charge into here, and this should be able to do better, but again, because they have so much evasion and, you know, the bonus HP and things like that, I've now attacked that unit with 2 strafing runs and a charge attack with assault marines, and I killed 1 out of 5 models out of that squad there. So that just, and that squad is doing damage to everything in exchange. So that's why I think these guys are overtuned still. So I played a bunch of matches and stuff with the Tau, and you know, I've done a couple of the tournaments and stuff with them now, a couple of those matches which you've seen, and I'll still do it on this. I'm going to focus mostly on the Necrons and the Tau for the rest of my rounds and stuff here, but I still feel like the Tau are just still too overcooked even with the changes. Now I'm glad that they're doing some nerfs and things. I'm not quite sure why he decided to pull the stealth suit out of there. I think his thought was as well, I'm going to just keep capturing these points back, so I guess I get it. But he's running down here and trying to snipe me. And he knows he's going to have enough to kill everybody else here. So he's like, well, we've got our cadre. We've got that little Pathfinder here that's still doing things. So, and he's moving down his broadside here. But it's like, I feel like the Fire Warriors and stuff, they're good. You can give them some armor piercing. They've got the marker lights. Like, they can do a lot of good things for you. And it's like, they cost 90 when you give them up. I think it's 90 when you give them the upgraded weapon. That gives them all the range, the armor piercing. So to say that a breacher at the same cost is the same, just seems kind of ridiculous. So, you know, either nerf them or make the point cost for them go higher. But I mean, look at all the damage he's doing to this. Now he charges with the ethereal. I'm glad to see I'm not the only one that makes that mistake with the ethereal, because it triggered the overwatch and he got suppressed, so it wastes his attack, and now the ethereal can't do much other than do a little bit of buffs. But it's like, again, those breachers are just so overcooked here. And now he'll be able to just blast these guys down. Now, I'm not sure what ends up happening on this next turn or not, if it glitched out, but he used his stealth guy to turn invisible, but then on the following turn he lost the stealth, so I'm not sure if the game ended up bugging out or what happened there exactly. But it's like, okay, I got 2 to get there. So it's like, we'll put you here. And I was originally planning on shooting the stealth suit, but it wasn't going to do enough damage there. So I should have moved them at a little bit of a different angle, but I changed my mind kind of halfway through that attack. So it's like, alright, I've taken this back here. I've got these guys. If I come here, I can rear attack that guy. But I was kind of hoping I was going to be able to use his command points to do another attack. So I use my jump marines here because I couldn't get over there far enough. So we wanted to get that guaranteed rear attack, and then I can move them up here to take this back. But then I finally looked to see how much action points I actually had there, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm nowhere near getting enough to be able to do enough with my command points here. So I realized my folly. So I'm like, well, let's attack these guys, kill them, and then hopefully I can have these guys just body block this here, because now it's pretty clear I'm going to lose. And I kind of had that feeling for most of the time after seeing what I did, but I was also like, well, maybe now I can just farm them for a little bit of points. So it's like, we'll shoot these guys, wipe out those breachers. Our flamer will be back up in one turn. It's like, let's heal you since I now know that your momentum's so low. I'm still going to be short. And so then it's like, oh shit, he's got those pathfinders here. So it's like, do I have to run behind this cover? Because if he shoots this guy, I'm screwed. So I end up pulling him back. And it's like, I've got my death company here. It's like, well, do I just kill this breacher here? Who am I going to attack? And I decide, well, let's come over here and kill the breacher, because I don't want him to come and be able to take back my point over here. So I thought, well, maybe I can just stay back here and lock down those probes. I think what may have made more sense was for me to just jump the ethereal and guarantee the kill on him between these two guys. I think in retrospect I could have done that, because I end up capturing these points thinking, okay, well now it's a 4-1 in my favor. But again, he can just run and take these points the following turn, so I don't know if that really made a lot of sense for me to do that. But we end up killing them, so it's like the Pathfinders are down there. So now I should be able to guarantee at least I can hold the last point down here. But I assume he's just going to come and take back those points. So I'm like, well, I can come down and body block with my land speeder, or I can advance, but I think he still has a breachers, and the breachers are going to be able to kill you. So maybe we just hide you back here, and then you'll still be in somewhat of a position, whereas if he advances with the breachers, you can maybe flame them down, and we can kill those stealth teams. But he's running down with Ethereal, who will easily be able to kill my Death Company here. And then he's running over with his Fire Warriors here. And I was not thinking that he was going to have those missiles back up again, so that was one thing I did not take into consideration when trying to figure out what to do. So now he's able to easily wipe out the squad with his cadre here, and then he's able to run in and capture that point back. And now he very prudently decided to body block it with his broadside, because he knows I have nothing over here that's going to be able to kill that broadside. So now I effectively can't take that point back. And then he just runs down with his breachers, kills that squad, body blocks that point as well. And so it's like, okay, I've gained myself an additional 10 points. But there's nothing else I can really do now. And so now it's like, alright, well, I've got one more turn here. So it's like, let's just run in here, kill these guys. They're down. You can just body block here. Not that there's going to be anything he can really, that I can do. And then I'm just kind of looking to see, well, what can I really do here? It's like, I was thinking, oh, maybe I can jump with my Death Company here, but I had forgotten that I had jumped to guarantee their attack on that stealth. So what I should have done is then run them up here to double flame those probes, because now they effectively can't get into combat because I didn't realize their jump pack was deactivated. So I'm like, oh shit, of course. I forgot that that had happened. So it's like, well, let's just run our tornado up here, and then we should be able to almost kill the ethereal. And I actually get good rolls with some crits, so it actually does guarantee the kill. And so if I would have played that out better, then I could have moved these guys over and flamed the breachers and potentially gotten another kill. But of course, I forgot that the jetpack was deactivated or on cooldown from that Death Company. So now I've got a Death Company that's got 2 attacks that I can't even get into combat for. I've got a priest that I can't do anything with because he doesn't have quite enough action points. And so I'm like, shit, what am I doing here? It's like I can get you over to here, and then I could surge and maybe flame, but I don't quite know what the point of that would be, because I don't have anything really to follow it up with. So I'm just sitting here trying to think, like, well, what the hell am I going to do here? Because I'd like to at least kill something else, just out of spite here, before I go into the void. So it's like, if I come over here, I can't attack the... can't attack the... broadside. So I'm like, whatever. This is pretty much the end here. So I'll bring him down to here. And I see those guys, so I'm like, whatever. We'll end it with a strafing run, I guess. And still do a tiny little bit of damage.
Of course.
But those strafing runs are generally not worth it, as I brutally learned on this match here. So I'm like, whatever, just surge and shoot, but I only got a 27% chance to hit. So it's like, alright, can't do anything there. And end the turn, and then the following thing, obviously he got his points. So it ends out being 80 to 40 here for the total match. So definitely some major misplays on my portion, and my opponent did an excellent job with how he used his Tau here. He appropriately had his breachers spaced out, so I wasn't able to get a bunch of attacks on him. I was able to get him to force his commander, so I was able to kill the commander right away, because that'll give a plus 10% accuracy and a plus 10% range damage buff to all of his units. Plus it was his commander for the squad, so I was able to chew through and make him lose some command points. But unfortunately, in order to do that, I had to sacrifice my 2 sanguinary guard squads, and therefore those were my major damage dealers. I think maybe in retrospect, perhaps doing a Terminator build could be good, but again, the issue there is the breachers are just able to kill Terminators as well. So it's not like you can even really effectively lock everybody down with the Terminators. I have had games with the Tau that I've won using a kind of a combination of the jump and Terminators, but again, the breachers, if you nerfed them a little bit, then I think it would be a better match. Or the other thing that I think probably needs to happen is I think the Terminators with their claws, they need to get more splash damage. I think they should be kind of the same as knobs with their power claws, because they just don't do enough damage. So nobody effectively uses Terminators with claws. Everybody just gives them the Thunder Hammer and the shield, because it gives them additional armor, damage reduction, and then they just become anti-armor guys. And they can kill infantry too, but it'd be interesting if they kind of made some changes there, so it'd be better. But yeah, it just feels like the tower's still a little bit too overcooked. The breachers, I think, are the main issue, and then the stealth suits are still you know, seem a little bit too good with how much damage that they can soak up. Should have just summoned the Assault Marines on guys. At least I could have taken out another Breach squad, because I could have got the jump, which counts as a charge attack, and then I could have just used his buff to then get a buffed attack, and I could have wiped out another Breacher squad. So had I done that, I probably would have held the line a little bit better, and at least I could have taken maybe 1 or 2 points more. I still would have lost, obviously, but there's definitely some things I could have done better that would have made it less lopsided in his favor here, because, you know, an 80 to 40 is a pretty bad loss, especially because we made it all the way to turn 7. But our opponent did very, very well playing the Tau. If you're struggling with the Tau, definitely watching this kind of video shows you how to use them effectively, because this is actually kind of a hard map for the Tau, because there's so many obstacles and they need to get those range. So he played beautifully, and he really maximized the use of his broadside here. He used his missiles to set guys up and weaken them to allow them to get easy kills. He kept his Pathfinder safe. He used his stealth, what do you call them, stealth cell suits very effectively to snipe out my predators, to take back points effectively. So he did a lot of really good things there, and used even his ethereal to wipe out some squads. So definitely, if there's things to be learned on my playthrough here about major mistakes that caused me to really lose this match badly, in addition to the fact that the Tau can really counter the Space Marines quite easily. And so I'd be interested to know, now that the Tau have been released, I would be willing to bet that a lot of players, the amount of Space Marine units, factions that have been used on this tournament probably went down precipitously, because as soon as you see somebody selecting Space Marines, you should pretty much reflexively either say, oh, I want to play as the Necrons, or I want to play as the Tau. Most people are going to do the Tau if they paid for that DLC, because the Tau are still so much more powerful. I mean, the Necrons are against Space Marines can be a hard matchup too, but the Necrons, while they have a lot of good things, it's not a guaranteed win, whereas I would bet that if you do a Tau versus Space Marine matchup, it's probably like a 70-30, if not an 80-20 win, because it's pretty hard to lose with the Tau against the Space Marines, in my experience, because you can counter pretty much everything you got. You've got your Pathfinders and your other guys that also can have all anti-armor. You can buff your guys up. You know, some people say, oh, you gotta just bring more hand flamers, but I tried it with a skirmish match, and it takes 2 to 3 hand flamer attacks to wipe out a Pathfinder or a Breacher squad. And so then you've got all your guys in there, you've jumped in, you've done your hand flamers, you may or may not wipe out the squad. Doesn't seem like that's a super cost-effective way, because now you've paid for the unit and paid for the hand flamer cost. So now if you put everybody into the hand flamers, you're getting 3 less units, typically with 2 to 3, depending on if you're using Death Company or Assault Marines. So it's just not a cost-effective trade. So I think if you lowered the HP of the Breachers, it would work out well, because the equivalent to that would be, you know, the Sisters of Repentia, right, with the Adeptus Sororitas, and they're incredible units, right? Especially because you can jump down, you can give them 2 attacks, you can use their charge buff. Now, I do think it's broken with them in that you use a charge attack and you always are guaranteed a counterattack even if you do a rear attack, so I don't quite understand why that happens on that. I think it's just coded incorrectly. But the trade-off of that is you use their ability, and therefore you're going to suffer higher return damage, and they have no armor, and they have fairly low HP. So for all those reasons, yeah, they do shit tons of damage and can kill anything, but in exchange, the following turn, you know they're going to just easily be annihilated. Whereas the Breachers, as you can see, can tank things when you get them the ethereal buffs. They're hard to kill. If you do successfully lock them down and they can't get an attack, then they have their photon grenades. So they just are still too much, because they cost the same as those Sisters of Repentia, right? And they're clearly not equivalent, because it doesn't take 3 different Bloodletter units to unsuccessfully wipe out a Sister of Repentia squad, that's for sure, where they really struggle taking out the Breachers. So I think if you still kind of tweaked the Breachers a little bit, plus or minus the stealth suits, if you really nerf the Breachers down, then I think you could probably keep the stealth suits pretty powerful and make them a pain in the ass, because then that's kind of an annoyance factor, which you know, actually, if the rest of the stuff was balanced okay, would actually be okay. I do think, you know, the commander himself is also very powerful because of the damage buffs that he gives everybody. He's got the shield, so if you maybe increased his cost a little bit too, but you don't want to nerf the Tau into the ground, right? But I do think there's some minor tweaks that could be made that would make the Tau feel much better. I like a lot of the other units that they have. I think it's a fun faction, but they definitely still feel like they're a little too overcooked. If you guys disagree with me, please let me know. Maybe I'm just tilted, but that's been my experience, because when I play as the Tau, you know, I pretty regularly table a lot of other factions, and therefore I don't find them to be very fun to play, because I don't find a lot of close matchups when it seems like one side just, you either overextend with the Tau and you get slaughtered, or you just totally wipe the floor. There doesn't seem to be a lot of those closer matches. And the big thing with the Necrons can win against the Tau, because you can just grind them down by summoning Scarabs every turn. But that's the only faction I can regularly always win. Well, not always, but I can win a majority of the matches against the Tau when I play as the Necrons. So if you're struggling against the Tau, I'd recommend playing as the Necrons. So thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying these videos. If you are, please give my channel a like and subscribe. Encourage me to post more content for you. Have a great day.